Hello, and welcome back to DaPoddy. I am your host, Angela Aquera, and I am so grateful to have you here today because I think it's been 3 months since my last episode. And oh my god, has shit went down. So yeah, we have a lot to catch up on. Some real ass sketchy shit just went down 2 days ago, and we're gonna dive into that. But I want to talk about where I've been these past 3 months and what I've been feeling, because it feels pretty important to talk about. I actually made some podcasts and recordings while I was going through a lot of shit, and now that more time has passed, I've realized that at this moment in time, I do not feel inspired to share some of the episodes because it's really personal, and I realized I'm like, if I'm gonna bare myself and be vulnerable with the world, it needs to be something that I am very willing to have poked at, because not everyone's gonna accept and be loving towards certain things, and it's still something very tender to me. So sorry, but you're not getting all the dirty details, but I'm still gonna give you some details, I'm just gonna omit some information. It's interesting because of the fact that, yes, I was feeling so happy and so liberated when I first moved into my van. And I was so fucking ecstatic. I was so self-reliant, did this completely on my own, and I've made so many new friends, and I've had all these beautiful experiences that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I was just riding this high, and I was just feeling so alive and just having so much fun. I would balance being social really well with having time by myself to explore national parks or whatever. And then I went back home for a couple weeks to Colorado. I flew back, and a lot of shit there went down that really activated deep wounds inside of me and gave me new wounds that I needed to work through, but also reactivated stuff that was already living inside of me. And so it wasn't anything that happened while on my van journey, but flying back here and then going to a festival immediately after coming back. It was the first festival that I went to where I was like, I don't fucking feel like meeting people. I don't feel like being here. And I was so excited to go to this one because it had an awesome lineup that I was stoked about. I was just so stoked about it. And it was disappointing to have been feeling so shitty and so dark, feeling the deepest pain I've ever felt and deepest anxiety I've ever felt that I can recall, So my experience with festivals before was me just being there until I found my people, and I just kind of rest in being with them. But at first there'd be this trying to find my people, and then kind of resting and opening when I found them, and then continuing to find new people, have that foundation. This festival, I completely felt the most solo that I've ever been, and it was more of this time for me to take for nurturing myself and taking care of myself more than it was for making connection with other people. And I just went out into the crowd, and I was just dancing and having so much fun by myself. And it wasn't to connect with anyone else. It was just me being there, having so much fun by myself, and then having beautiful moments with other people of us dancing together, and then just having that fizzle out, and that's the end. We just had a beautiful moment on the dance floor, and then I disappear or they disappear, and that's that. And that was the experience. It wasn't anything where it's oh, I'm having fun with these people, and then we stay hanging out. It was just having all these beautiful moments with different people. And then the last night, I was kind of feeling more of that insecure about being alone and different things, and kind of feeling insecurities with that, because people can kind of tell. They're is this girl here alone? People kind of can tell. And sometimes it's kind of inspiring, and then sometimes I'm super insecure, oh, embarrassed that I'm here alone. But that kind of got me back into a place of feeling pretty okay again. And then a few days after, I was back to feeling like shit. And yeah, so I just wanted to give light to that festival experience. It was way different than all the other ones I've been talking about, and it was fun, but it was very different for me in a different way. But yeah, basically I have been moving through shit, and I've been seeing a lot of the reasons why certain things that happened had to happen, that made me feel really, not so happy inside. Some of the things of that happening have led me to being in so much pain where I'm on my knees and I'm like, God, I need to make a change. And I was thinking about the concept of death and how I wanted to die, and realizing that maybe it wasn't me wanting to die, but the parts of me that no longer serve me, and the parts of me that are holding up a mask to the world that aren't truly me, What if it's those parts that are wanting to die? So when I'm feeling like I want to die, it's not me at my core. It's the masks that I'm putting on, or it's the parts of me that just need to fall apart so I can step into more authenticity. And so reframing things like that and kind of viewing it as that. And there are some things like me being like, I need to start taking care of my health seriously. Like, I absolutely need to start taking care of my health. And so I've cleaned up my diet, the cleanest I've ever ate in my life. And it helps because I've done different diets before and I'm learning, what works for me, what doesn't. How did this diet affect me? How did taking these things out affect me? Because I've been vegan before, I've done dietas before, retreats and whatever. So this time it feels like the most empowered version of me actually eating clean and omitting certain foods that aren't serving me, or testing out what it's like to not have them in my diet and really using food as medicine. I've heard people say that before, but I never took it seriously. And I never really sat with the gravity of food as medicine. I started incorporating more fruits and more vegetables and eating things that are genuinely alive. It made everything much more manageable by taking care of my body and taking care of everything. If this darkness is going to stick around, we're going to do what we can to just make dealing with it much more manageable, and so it's not so overwhelming. So that's where I've been. Now, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened 2 days ago? I would love to give a proper warning to those people who are newer to spirituality about certain things that can happen in this field, because spirituality draws all sorts of people to it. We got just many different people doing similar things in life. And so there's not always going to be best people with the best intentions in the spiritual community. And so I also want to give a content warning of SA. And I'm assuming if that's something that you deal with, you know what SA stands for. Yeah. So I am okay. I am okay. But I have potential to be very not okay with what just happened 2 days ago. So I get to this town and just immediately started meeting people once I got to this town, and it just happened so effortlessly. They came to me. I literally opened my van door one morning, and then this guy comes up and he says, "Good morning, neighbor." And he's another man that lives in his van. And so I started connecting with other van lifers, and it was cool because I appreciate this man for coming up and kind of gathering everybody that was in vans, just saying hello, because that's all it takes. There's so many people like me that have been sleeping next to other van lifers, and I just don't socialize with them. We just do our own thing, because I think most of us are open to talking to each other, but we just don't initiate it. And so it was cool to have this guy come up and kind of gather everybody together. And then I did breath work with all the other van lifers in this town, and it was so fun. And it was so amazing. And I was like, wow, I didn't even have to try to make friends. It just fucking happened. How cool. And then with this guy, I was like, he's a little, Wookiee. He's a little out there. You could tell he's a little different. Crazy beliefs, crazy whatever. It's not very grounded into reality, And I ended up running into him when my mom was visiting. And he was just on the street. He was giving tarot readings. And I ran into him and I was like, oh, hey, I met you yesterday morning, blah, blah, blah. And then he offered me a tarot reading and I was like, that's sweet, whatever. And he gave me this crystal and he was like, oh, this is so important. You're so special. You got this crystal. Not only did you get a reading, you got a crystal, whatever. And then he runs back up and he's like, this might be awkward doing this in front of your mom, but do you want to take my number? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, sure. I'm here to make more friends, whatever. And so I got his number. And then he texts me, and then I don't really text back that often because I'm not into having casual conversation over text unless you are my partner that I'm not near, or whatever, someone super, super close to me. I'm not trying to have casual conversation over text. I don't have the energy for it. I want to be in my real life. I want to talk to you when we see each other. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to go for a hike or something, because he said something like that, and then never really responded. And then I'm going for a walk in the redwoods with my mom, and we're in the parking lot. And we were about to take another walk around before we drove away. And she's like, hey, it looks like that guy. And I was like, it is that guy that we saw on the street giving tarot readings. And I was like, I felt bad for not responding to him, but here he is in the most random spot. He's appearing in my field. I was like, okay, what the fuck? This is weird. And so, like, we have a little moment, like, talk to each other, and we're like, well, this is, like, weird that we saw each other and whatever. And I was like, yeah, and, like, texting me later, it's good to see you. I was like, it's so good to see you too, like, whatever. And then didn't really respond to whatever else he said. I ended up telling him that I'm going to Colombia for a retreat, a plant medicine retreat, over text, is, like, one of the few texts I sent him. And I was just going about my day one day after my mom left, and I went to this cafe to, like, just work on my computer. And he was there. And he was like, hey, it's you. And I was like, it's you. Like, what the fuck? Like, I keep running into this motherfucker. Like, no matter where I go, he just keeps popping into my field. And I was like, okay, universe. Like, I wasn't sure how to feel about him. Like, he sits there and talks about the craziest shit. Like, you don't even need to say anything. He just goes off and talks about different consciousness and, like, ascending and all the things that I'm usually taking as huge red flags, because I'm like, we're here to be human. We're not here to fucking ascend. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be here and live here. Like, I don't want you to help me ascend and get out of this fucking realm. Like, I came here for a reason. But we were just chatting. He was like, oh, I'm going to give you this stone. I just bought it today. And I was like, whoa, this is super nice. And so he read me the definition of this stone in his book. And I was like, that really resonates with what I'm going through. Read a certain, like, paragraph, and he's like, that's what you're going through right now. When he, like, gave it to me, and I was like, you're right. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're out there, but, like, you are saying shit that really resonates with me, and I keep running into you, and I feel like the universe wants him to be in my path. And so I was like, okay, I've been a little too harsh on the judgment lately, but I think the universe wants me to soften into love and see, like, oh, like, some of these crazy people are holding a lot. They're holding a lot of consciousness. They're like really out in a different planet and having a hard time being human, like trying to have more compassion for it. And he was like, do you want me to do a little bit of energy work on your shoulders? And I was like, I am not going to turn down a massage. And so I thought it was considerate of him to be like, lean back, and he grabbed a jacket and put it in between his crotch and me. And so I interpreted that as him being like, you know, kind and considerate that I wasn't laying directly on his crotch if I wasn't comfortable with it. And he started doing work on my shoulders in this cafe and, you know, in public. And then afterwards, I was like, I do feel a shift. I was like, yeah, like, sick. But there were, like, certain red flags that he was saying where he was kind of calling himself Christ in a way, of being like, this scar on my hand makes a cross, and there's 22 blah 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 chapters and whatever, and then this is like, this happened when I was 22. My first and middle name are, like, you know, biblical names, and I'm like, okay, welcome to everyone. And then he's like, my mom's middle name is Mary, thinking that he is the second coming. And normally I'd be like, I don't know about that, buddy. Like, when you're on this path, like, you get to a point where you're not the one. You learn that we are all one, and that you are not above anyone else. If you're feeling like you are above thou, you are missing the whole point of everything. The whole point of everything. And so I was like, that's a red flag. But, you know, I don't have to resonate with everything he says and how he's saying it. Seems like he has a good heart and whatever. And so he gives me energy work, and afterwards I'm like, that I feel like that shifted. And he was like, if you want, like, I can help you prepare for your ceremony, for your plant medicine ceremony. Like, I can do an energy work healing thing on you, and we can do that. And then we can actually do it multiple times, like, you know, to really clear the energy. So then when you get into, like, the ceremony, you can go really deep because you already cleared so much. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, my roommates were, like, energy healers. And so, like, I was just kind of used to being, like, offered things like that, of being like, yes, let me help you out and whatever. And I was like, fuck yeah, like, let's do it. And it just all was coming from a place of saying, like, I want to help you for this retreat. I want to help you for this. And so it comes time for the energy healing. And I guess I should have, I really don't know. Like, in retrospect, I don't know if I should have, like, there's nothing, like, nothing could have prepared me for, like, what was to come. It really felt like out in left field for everything that I was feeling from this person. Like, I just wasn't expecting to deal with what I had to deal with because of the way everything was framed around helping me for my ceremony. And we would only see each other when we ran into each other. I didn't think of, like, that I would be unsafe. My intention with sharing this is to point out red flags to look for if you're going to be in a setting like this, so you don't, like, end up in a situation like I did, or things to look out for while the situation's happening to know when you should remove yourself from it. But he comes in, has, like, all these crystals and whatever, and we do it in my van, and I wasn't expecting, I thought we were going to do it in his or something. In retrospect, I should have done it in his. And then he'd do certain things in here, like, not even that time, he'd just come in and hang out for a bit, and he'd like go to like my fan or something and be like, now like every time it pulls in air, it's pulling in blessings or whatever, and then he'll do something to something else. I'm like, all right, okay, like do whatever you're doing, thanks. Like I just put a spell on this thing, like great, buddy, thank you. But it's like we should smoke a little bit of cannabis to kind of help the process. And I turned down a spliff because I'm no longer doing nicotine. Thank you. Thank you. I was like, I'll do only like straight cannabis. Like I'm done with nicotine. And so we smoke a little bit. And then I'm like, not sure how this is going to work. He's like, should we close the doors? And I was like, yeah, like sure. And then it becomes apparent that he's like, we should clear these pillows. And I was like, oh, we're doing it on my bed? Like, okay, like whatever. My bed's super small, but sure. And so I moved my pillows and whatever. And then he was like, you can take your layers off. And I was like, what? All of them? And he was like, yeah, like it's just whatever. And then I was like, can I put shorts on? He was like, if that'd make you feel better, if that'd make you like feel more comfortable. But it would get in the way of the process. Like you're just going through the motion and then you have to stop and then go around it. It's just like kind of fucks with the flow. I got a little shoot of anxiety in my chest and I was like, I'm putting my shorts on. Like I would like to have my shorts on. And I was kind of surprised because I was like, at first he said the right thing. And then it became apparent that like he was actually not cool with that. He was just kind of getting offended. He was like, you don't trust me? And I was like, no, I just like, I'm moving through trauma in this area of my body and I would like to like have shorts on. And he was like, well, you don't trust me? Like, I don't want anything from you. And I was like, no, it's not that. I would just feel more comfortable with these on, like in a safe container, which is most of the containers, like all of the containers I've been in my whole life up until this point, because I've been so blessed on this journey so far. All my containers have been people who were like, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you want to top on, like whatever, like do what makes you feel comfortable. That is what they should say. Okay. He was getting upset that I wasn't trusting him. I didn't think that he would like, insert himself into me, but it was a comfort thing. I clearly don't want you to see these parts of my body. Like, and so I was just like, okay. So then I was just like, had a baggy shirt on. I quickly like ripped him off and then put like shorts on. He was just in the vehicle still. Didn't like try to look away or anything. And I was just like, okay. And then I took off my bra and I was just like, okay, I guess I'll just go on here and try to like, And then he climbs up on my bed. He just kind of climbs over me and like straddles over me. And I'm like, okay, whatever, And at this point, I'm also thinking like, he is a little different and he may actually be like, oh, this actually blocks the flow, like of me like going through the motion. And he could just be someone who's very particular and just isn't reading like clear social cues. Like that's just kind of where I was at. And so like he gets to a point where he's like working on my back, doing the oil massage and like whatever and different energy work. And then he kind of gets to the area with my like shorts and whatever at a later point. And he's like, you sure you don't want these off? You're going to get oil all over them. You'll thank me later. And I was like, yes, I want them on. And also, you're getting oil all over my freshly washed blanket. I'm pretty sure I even mentioned to you that they're freshly washed. And you were like not very diligent with like where you're putting oil right now. In those moments, I was like, if you do energy work on men, are you so insistent on like them taking their bottoms off? Like, I didn't ask him that, but I was just like thinking about that. I was like, it's weird. Like, you're getting oil on my bed, but you're concerned about the oil on my shorts and I should have them off. Anyways, I said, yes, I want them on. I was like, that's fine. Like, I don't care if there's oil on them, like, whatever. And also, like, you can skip that area or you can be more careful to not put oil on them. Like, that's a thing you could do. Like, it's not, like, impossible, At a later point, he's like, well, can I go underneath them? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Expecting him to, like, respect my genital area. And eventually he started getting pretty close to like my like asshole. And then he's getting pretty close to my badge. And then eventually he's like doing something on the right of the outside of my like vag opening. Like I was like, oh, he's getting close, get a little shoot of anxiety in my chest. And then I was like, oh, he's like pretty close to going there. Like he's pretty much there. And I was like, hey, you're getting close to my privates. And he was like, well, you said you wanted your root chakra worked on. And then he was like, I cleared out your womb to like do blah, blah, blah. And it like cleared out this. And I was like, I was not like, that should not be the reaction I'm getting. You should be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I will not do that. Not being like, what the fuck? Like, I can't touch this. Like, what the fuck? Like, that should not be the reaction. And he asked me, where do you feel it? Where do you feel the no? I was like, I feel it in my heart. And he's like, well, it's probably like the energy that I'm moving down here is activating that up there. And I was like, no, I just don't fucking want you to touch my fucking vagina. And so I was just kind of sitting there and I was like, what the fuck? And then he was talking about like how I'm not open enough and I'm not just relaxing and just like all this shit. He was like, trust me, like you can trust me. Like I don't need energy from you. Like I have like a bunch of energy myself. And I was like, yeah, sure, I believe that. I don't think you're going to do like, anything crazy, but you are touching my parts where I clearly do not want you touching them. I asked to put shorts on. I am not wanting you to, like, touch my cooch. Like, first of all, you need to ask if you're going to go there. And especially because our connection, there was nothing that should have implied that was there between us. It was just like running into each other and talking to each other and like him talking a bunch of crazy shit and I'm just sitting there, And so he gave me that reaction and I was like, yo, what the fuck? In those moments, I was like, I only allow those parts to be touched by people like I have a romantic connection with, and I don't really feel like a sexual connection with you. And he's like, you don't think we'd be sexually compatible? And I was like, no, it's not that. I just don't feel that charge between us. Like, I just don't want that. And then, like, when I'm with, like, my partners and I feel sexual chemistry with someone, this is not origenness that comes up in me. This is coming up in me because I do not want to be sexual with you. It's not my trauma. It's not blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's you. Like, I don't want to fucking have you touching my fucking parts. And so I flip around because he asked if I want to have the womb work done. And so I was like, sure, because we talked about it earlier. And then I flip around and I cover my boobs. And he's clearly like annoyed that I feel the need to cover my breasts. And he like starts doing like the womb stuff. And then he tries to go up by my chest and he's like, can you move your hands? And I was like, yeah. And so I moved them and then he did the thing. And then he's like, you can put them back if you want. And I was like, mm-hmm. And I was just like, what the fuck? After that, he was like, we're done or whatever. And I was like, I don't know what to say. I cannot say thank you. He was like, oh, I just did all this thing. I reoriented your energetic field to do this, like blah, blah, blah. And then this man has the audacity. It's not going to be word for word. I don't remember exactly what it was. But this man has the audacity to be like, you just have more to work through. Like you have like a lot of blockages right here. And that's just like why you felt how you felt today. It's just like, you just have more to work through. And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. It's the things that I'm moving through and releasing. Like, that's why I felt uncomfortable. That it's for sure that you're right. And the thing is I don't think that he knows or he realizes how not okay all of that was. He does not realize that. And so, whatever. I was like, we gave each other hugs, and I was just like, I may have been like, thanks, like at one point, but like, I just like, there's so many times where normally I'd be like, thank you, after energy work, where I was just like, that's not the word that I want to use right now. I'm like, please leave my fucking car. Like, get the fuck out. And so he like is getting out and I'm like, I'm gonna go throw away my trash and do whatever. And then I actually end up sitting in here and writing like a whole Instagram story about like what just happened. And I'm grateful I did that so I can have like, notes immediately after that happened to like remember exactly how it went down. And so I was sitting there for probably like an hour more than like he was expecting. And then I drove away. And then, oh my God, it goes into this whole other crazy story. But I will keep it here for a bit. I was just in such disbelief about like how that went down. I was genuinely shocked. And I am okay. And it felt like a true test of me and my integrity with myself and trusting my nose and stepping into knowing what's not okay with me. Like, this is huge progress for me because when I lost my virginity, it was me saying no at first. And then he just talked me into it. And I was just like, so easily swayed out of my no. And so it felt really good to like kind of reflect on how far I've come for me to realize that I was like, no, like this is my no. I know who I am. I know what I believe in. And I trust myself. I trust my intuition. It's a no. And you can say whatever the fuck you want, but it's a no for me. And realizing that like People who aren't so firm in what they believe in and don't trust themselves as much could have easily violated their self and their own boundaries in this situation because he had compelling points. He had every single fucking spiritual reason as to why I felt uncomfortable. And so if I was a younger version of me, or a younger girl, which I saw him with like one day and I totally thought it was fine because I didn't have this experience yet. I was like, oh, he's just friendly, like whatever. Like, good for him for like just being friends with everybody. And I think about her, and I think about like other people who are newer to this path and just stepping into it and don't know what they believe in and don't know whatever, of being like, oh, like maybe he's right. Maybe he is moving energy down there and that's why I don't feel okay up here. I know, it's just like, I don't want you touching my fucking gooch. And I understand like where his head is at. He's in this mind state of spiritual ego, which is so real in this community, of being like, I'm doing this, I hold the power, like I'm whatever, and fuck your intuition because I know what I'm doing. And I was just like, that's not what this life is about. Like, we both are all sacred and we both have sacred yeses and sacred nos. Like, you can be doing whatever the fuck over there, but I have a no that lives inside of me sometimes. It just felt like it wasn't collaborative. It wasn't a co-creation. It was like, I'm doing this to you, I'm healing you. The encounters that have been empowering for me have been like, it's you who holds the power to allow as much as you allow into this experience. So it's a co-creation between both of us to create this experience. It's not just me healing you. And so that's something that you want to look for, is like kind of co-creation energy, you know? And not this ego of, I am the best, I am whatever. Like, shut the fuck up. You're not the Messiah, bitch. Get fucked. It's just wild. It's wild that that's real and that exists in the world. And I don't feel violated because whenever a no arised for me, I spoke to it and I stuck with it. And I feel like many times in the past for me and other people, where we start to feel really violated is when we have no's and we're not expressing them. It depends on the situation, okay? But like in this situation, I feel like if I would have felt violated, it would have been because I had a no arising in me and I wasn't respecting and honoring it. So I feel proud of myself for not letting myself start to feel violated and for standing up for myself, and even being in the bed and saying, I'm advocating for my inner child right now. She does not feel safe. And him just not understanding that. I was like, I'm advocating for my inner child. We do not want you to touch my privates. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And it was pretty clear that in his mind, too, energy healing is something way different than what my perception of energy healing was. And so I was just like, just very frustrated at him for like not being upfront about what he was looking for in that. But the way that he phrased everything about like it being for preparing me for my ceremony, it was never anything about like us connecting in a way. It was always about like helping me on my ceremony, helping me release some stuff. It was always about that, where I was like, okay, yeah, like this is fine. Like I was not expecting it to be like him expecting us to have a connection in that moment, because I've like had energy work done where it's not that at all, you know, not that expectation, because it's a friend to a friend. And so I was just like, I cannot believe I'm in this position right now. I'm so fucking vulnerable. And, you know, like I'm like half naked. And you wanted me fully naked when I didn't want to be fully naked. And there's just like so many things where it's just like, you were just not upfront about what you were looking for from this like interaction, and you should have been straight up. So anyways, I would like to shed light on that because that does exist in the world. And I want people to know, because this is more common than you think. I've heard about things like this happening. And you should feel safe, and you should feel like your no's are honored, or your boundaries. There should never be a fighting back on someone's no. Like any of that should not like have gone down. This exists in the world. Be careful, because it can be a really beautiful experience if you get energy healing work by someone who's very aligned with you and your path and is very compassionate and loving and good at what they do. It can be a beautiful experience. But be careful. Just want to shout that out. But anyways, I drove away, wanted to throw my trash away after that. And I was like, well, fuck this. I'm so upset about the fact that that just happened. I was just like in shock. I was like, I cannot believe that's how it turned out. And I would like to take a shower. I want to shower now. I don't want to get my pajamas dirty. Like, I want to shower now. And so I like picked this RV park, and I was like, just gonna, you know, park on the outside and just like, you know, sneak in and take a shower. Because I'm a little sleaze bag. And this is immediately after, like, this all happened, like, within, like, 1 to 2 hours of me doing it. I'm like, "I'm gonna drive here. It's closer than the other truck stops that are, like, about 45 minutes away." I just don't know this town enough to know, like, where I could shower that's pretty close, and I don't have a gym membership yet, so I I see that the RV park is closed because under renovation, and this is me and my thought process. It's dark. I cannot see whether there's another entrance and if only half of it's open or if whatever. I'm like, I'm just gonna go scope out the situation. So I climb over like the close sign and I'm like, I see a bathroom over there. I'm gonna go walk towards it and see if there's showers and see if they're open. That's all I'm gonna do. And if they're open, maybe I'll just hop right on in. I was just kind of like, walking, have my light on, very obvious, like walking in, like, not trying to hide myself. And I was just kind of like looking around, I'm like assessing the situation. I'm like, is there people that live over there? Like, what is this? Like, I don't know. I'm like, is there RVs over there? Like, it's just like literally in the process of trying to see it, assess like what's happening. And then this man with a light is out there, and I'm like, just like, we're probably gonna run into each other and whatever. And then from like a distance away, he's like, who's that? And I was like, Angela, you don't know me. And then he was like, what are you doing here? And then he gets so upset. And I was like, oh, I was just like gonna go see if there was like, showers, and I was just gonna check the bathrooms and see if there were showers. And then he was like, you need to leave. Like, you just trespass. It's a closed sign. This is under construction. It's not safe to be here. He just kind of spazzed out a little bit. And I was like, damn, dude, like, Jesus. Like, I was like, he was just kind of like super, like, just getting upset, and he was just like freaking out. He's like, you need to leave at the end of it. I said, you could have put that nicer, but I will leave, sir. And then he was like, nicer? Like, you just trespassed. You hopped over like 5 closed signs, which is just like a string of that had different signs on the string that's just saying closed for construction and whatever. And so he's like, you're trespassed. You're like, you climbed over these signs. Like, he's like, go. And I was like, I am like gonna leave. Like, I was like walking. And then, like, eventually, like, I, like, start walking, I'm, like, going straight, like, to my van, and then he's like, "You're walking over a construction area." He's like, "It's dangerous, like, get back on the road." And I was like, "Where the fuck is the road? This looks like gravel." Like, okay, whatever. And so, like, I get to the road, and I was like, he's just, like, yelling at me, just like, "That's why you shouldn't be in here," like, whatever. And I was just like, it's literally the construction area is literally just, like, gravel. There's nothing there. It's fucking rocks. It's just rocks. I don't know if there was bombs underneath them or what, but I was like, you are being ridiculous right now, dude. It is not dangerous. You're just being a fucking weirdo. Like, whatever. And then so I start walking on the road. It's a different route than I took. And so I honestly thought I was back on the main road of like the like highway or whatever the fuck it was again. And then he was like following me with his light, and I like turned around because I was like, yo, what the fuck? And he was like, keep going. And I was like, you're following me. And he was like, well, I want to make sure you leave. And he was like, I was like, you don't trust me? Like, I'm leaving. And he was like, I don't trust you. Like, you hopped over these signs, like, that said, like, you can't go in here. You, like, I don't trust you. And I was like, I thought I saw a sign. And then he didn't even let me finish. And I was gonna say, I thought I saw a sign that said, like, make reservations online. So I didn't know if the full park was closed or not. I was just checking out the situation. Obviously, he was living there, but I didn't feel like I was walking into someone's home because I was like, oh, I just thought it was like a normal campground, Like, I just didn't think it was like trespassing because it's like typically like public, like a bunch of people go there and it's like a bunch of people there. And so yeah, and he's just like freaking out, and like the whole time, like I'm just so chill and so grounded. Like I was just so confused, like not even confused. I was just like, this man is freaking out right now for no reason. I was like, I thought I saw whatever, and then he was like, whatever. He's like, I could put you in jail for trespassing, and I was like, okay, sir, like whatever. I'm sure like I'm just like, you cannot. Like, I'm like, the cops will not put me in jail for this situation right now. Like, if they actually gave me any, like, 5 seconds to talk about what I was, like, experiencing, like, they would understand it. They'd be like, okay, you're fine, like, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I would not go to jail for this, and I don't even think I'd get a fine because of the fact that it's fucking, like, typically open to the public. He, like, follows me to the road, and then he stops at, like, the end of the driveway, and I was like, good, because I was worried that he was just gonna follow me to my van. And so, like, I turn on my van and wait to turn on my lights, and then start driving, and then I turn on my lights, like, after I'm on the road. I was just like, yo, what the hell? Like, what the fuck? And I was like, literally, why would I like, the fact that he didn't trust that I was gonna leave, like, I'm just, like, such a chill, sweet little baby angel. I was just, like, so grounded, so, like, "Yeah, sir, like, you want me to leave? Like, okay, whatever," and he's just freaking out, and so I was just like, "This man's having his whole own experience over there that's just, like, I don't associate with that, and I don't know what's going on right there, but that was weird." And I understand, like, he had a point, like, I wasn't supposed to be there, but, like, his reaction was a little above and beyond, like, freaking the fuck out than I feel like it should have been for this situation. Like, in another world where it's all peaceful and loving, that could have been a man who's like, "Who's that?" And I'm just like, "Oh, this me. I was just like, this is what I was looking for." And he's like, he could have been like, "Oh, sorry, it's closed. Like, you have to leave. Like, whatever." It could have been like a very like gentle interaction of being like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay, sir, bye." You know, like, or it could have been someone who's actually nice. Who's like, "Oh, you need a shower? Like, you poor little girl. Like, absolutely. Like, just like take a shower and leave. You know, like when you're done." Like, there could have been so many different scenarios and different people where it's like, if I would have known that there was gonna be an angry man who's absolutely not okay with people being, like, on this property, like, I wouldn't have went in. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I didn't even get to the bathrooms, like, they could have been locked, like, what business would I have doing there if they're locked, which they probably fucking were, like, I was like, "What? Like, why would I stay? Like, what would I do here?" He literally just, like, assumed I was this crazy fucking hooligan, and I was like, "I'm just a fucking girl who lives in a vehicle who's just seeing if there's a shower here, like, because I nearly got fucking RAPED." You know, like, I literally almost just experienced that. I'm just trying to clean it off my body. Like, it just shows, like, it's just so frustrating because it's like, that's why you be nice to people, is like you have no clue what anyone is going through at any point in time. Like you can just assume, but you really don't know. Like someone could be going through like the darkest thing, or they could have just like had this very traumatic experience happen, and like just being mean to each other is helping nothing. And I'm just like, what the fuck was that? And it's like, if he even like cared to listen instead of projecting all these things onto me of like what he thought like I was doing there because he hates the world, thinks it's evil, of whatever. He probably is moving through his own bullshit over there and makes him like see the world in such a tainted way. If we just like, you know, kind of softened into love and just kind of been human with each other, that could have been a way different experience. I've just been like moving through a lot this year where I'm like, if only this person that just honked at me and flicked me off knew what I was feeling and what I was moving through right now, they wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, we just are not considerate towards anyone else. And like, it didn't like affect me. Like, I was just after that, I was just like, that was weird. Like, I feel like I was very able to just kind of reject his energy and have that like sent back to him and me just be like, okay, like just chilling over here. Like, that was weird. Like, you didn't need to react like that. Like, just say, okay, I'm gonna go. Bye. So I went on a crazy adventure and just ended up in a completely different town and, you know, whatever. And so, yeah, that happened. That was great, that was fun. Love that, 10 out of 10. And so that was the weirdest night. Oh, and we're okay, last thing before I'm done! I'm gonna shut the fuck up. But listen, we haven't talked in 3 months. We had some catching up to do, and then I had this crazy situation that just happened. So this man came in here doing some voodoo shit on certain objects in my van at some points whenever he was, like, inviting himself in whenever I'd be parked in the street. He'd just, like, you know, come hang out and just hop in my van, and I was like, "I never said you could, like, be in my home, but, like, okay." Also, no smoking in here, and then just fucking lit it up inside of here, and I was like, no, go sit out there, like, what the fuck?" And then puts it out on the rail of my van. I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, don't assume how you interact with your van is how I interact with mine. Like, stop. I was like, house rules. This is my fucking home. I didn't invite you into my home. I don't want you outside my door sometimes. Like, please, like, have some respect for the fact that this is my home. But some weird shit happened. And so I stayed the night somewhere else in a different town, and then I ended up staying the night again in that town. And last night, because that was 2 nights ago of that whole thing going down, I think I recall him doing something to my faucet. And in the middle of the night, my faucet turned on. And I was like, what the fuck? It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, trying to, like, whatever. I just turned it off and I was like, sending fucking shit my way. Like, whatever. Suck a dick. Fuck you. Like, I just kind of felt like it was him trying to, you know, manipulate reality a little bit. And then I, like, went back to sleep, and then all of a sudden, something else dropped. And it actually is something that typically drops sometimes, but, like, my van wasn't moving. Like, in that moment, I was like, what the fuck? Like, my van isn't moving. It's the stillest. Like, there's nothing rushing by to shake my van or anything. Like, it's so still. And then something just dropped. And I was like, this dude can suck a dick. Whatever energy he's sending over here, like, fuck off. I wasn't scared. I was just like, you fucking bitch. And I did sage my van and I tried to like clean it the best I could. But you know, whatever. And this morning I leave and I go for my morning walk. And then by the time I come back, I'm like, there's water dripping off the rail of my van. I was like, where's that coming from? There's no tree above my van. And then I open up the door and I'm like, oh, like it's soaked. Like my rug is fucking soaked. And I'm like, what happened? Because sometimes my underwater tank will overflow because I'm just not aware of where it's at. And so I was like, it's pretty empty, my gray water tank, which is like holds less water than like my main tank, and I just have to like dump it more frequently. It holds less water. And then I noticed like there's water like even above my gray water tank. So it wasn't my gray water tank per se. Like there was water like directly underneath the sink. And I was like, oh fuck, the USB thing turned on. And then I look at my like main water tank, completely empty. It poured all 4 gallons of my water out into my sink and then fucking drenched everything, leaked everywhere. And it did it in a way where it never touched any of my batteries that I have back here. And it didn't touch anything besides like flowing out and like soaking up my rug and flowing out of my door. And so I'm so fucking grateful that if it was gonna happen, it happened the way it did. It got super wet underneath my yoga mat because I have a yoga mat like underneath like my kitchenette. It was wet underneath and my fridge and battery was on top, but it just never like, you know, came out on top where that would cause a lot of damage. And so I was like, what the fuck? I feel like, okay, yes, like this is a newer pump that I have not used before, so maybe this is a flaw that will happen because I've not used this one before. But also, I felt like it was this dude, like, you know, doing his ego shit of being like, I can manipulate reality, and him, like, sending his energy or doing certain things inside of my van. And so that's my interpretation. That one's like totally up for whatever, but like that's how I feel about it. And so I went to the laundromat, like washed everything, like washed the blanket that like was used that he got oil all over. I'm so happy about, and my shorts that were there. And then I dried my rug because it was so wet, and then everything else that was soaking. And then I just really cleaned my van, and then I saged it out like a motherfucker, and then like just cleaned everything that I remember like maybe seeing him like do some energy thing to. And like just cleared that out with like sage and been like, anything that like any spells that are in here, like anything, get it the fuck out, you know, in whatever way, maybe more sacred way that I put it. But I was just like saying all that, and then yeah, just saging the shit out of like everything, and then pouring in love to replace everything that left, and then also creating a protective barrier and like having kind of rejection energy of anything that's coming towards the van. And so we did that today. Spiritual war happening right now. We're just like fucking fighting each other. And I'm like, you can think you're the god over there, but like I can protect myself. So suck a dick, eat a chode, fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? And so, hi. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to this story. I hope you actually took, like, sometimes I say this, I hope you took something away from an episode and it's just like the most like bullshit episode that you didn't even need to listen to. It didn't affect your life at all. So there's a lot of episodes like that. But I hope you took something away from this episode, or maybe send it to someone who you think it might help. Please follow or subscribe on whatever platform that you are on. If you're able to leave a comment, I would love for you to leave a comment. I love chatting and getting to feel your beautiful souls. It makes everything feel like much more of a community feel and much more of like a family vibe, and that's what I would like to go for. And I thank you for following on this journey with me. It's been a wild one. It's been really crazy, the craziest roller coaster. And sometimes I feel like I have these experiences and that life has gotten extra spicy because of the podcast coming into my field, and because it's something that I am now doing. The universe is like, we need to entertain the people, so sorry, we're gonna put you through some really weird shit. This is the message we need to deliver to the people, so we're gonna put you through it. Sorry, we're gonna put you through some bullshit so you can, like, you know, tell a funny story. Sorry, we need to entertain the peoples through your fucking weird-ass situations you end up in. Have fun. So please subscribe. I'm dying inside and I'm crawling in credit card debt. Help! The next time I'm recording, I have a feeling, unless something else crazy happens, I'm going to a retreat and I'm doing so many plant medicines. Girl, you need to chill on the plant medicines. Listen, I went through hell and I still have depressive things come up. I need to do this and I will chill, but I need to do this. So stay tuned. It's going to be a wild ride. I just know, but please stick around. Please follow. Please subscribe. Please comment. I love you. Bye.